afternoon, class. So, in today's lecture of botany, we are going to study about plants that has been called like Angiosperm and Gymnosperm. So, basically, these plants, Angiosperm and Gymnosperm, they come under the division of phanerogams plant. Like if we divide the plants in two broad categories, then there is one cryptogams plant and second one is a phanerogam. So cryptogam is all about the plants which do not have seeds inside them. On the other hand, the gymnosperm or angiosperm, which come under the phanerogams, they are possessing seed inside their plant body. So basically, on the presence of the seed is present or not, we divided the plants into spectra, cryptogam and phanerogam. So these are the study material of today's lecture. Angiosperm and gymnosperm, they are considered under the phanerogams plant. Let's take a look how the angiosperm and gymnosperm plant look like. So you can see the basic difference between the angiosperm, like we commonly talk about what kind of angiosperm plant and how the gymnosperm plant look like. So the basic core difference between this angiosperm and gymnosperm is a difference of flower. Flower is a fundamental unit which can create a difference between angiosperm and gymnosperm. And second major difference between the gymnosperm and angiosperm is covered seed material. In the gymnosperm plant, seed have to be enclosed in a seed cover. Okay, so they are not naked, not present on the surface in the angiosperm. But if the seeds are naked and they are present on the surface, like without having any kind of covering, so that kind of plant is known as a gymnosperm. But if there is a well developed protecting coverage, flower is present, then we can simply say that the plant is a angiospermic plant. You can see here in the gymnosperm, the diagram shows a microscopic female gametophyte inside ovulated cone. So you can see this is a female gametophyte present on the surface. You can see it by your naked eyes, or you can see just the ovule present on the surface without having a spectacular covering. On the other side, in the angiosperm, this is also a diagram of microscopic gametophyte inside these part of the flower. So you can see the difference is here. They are really protected by the covering of flower from outside. So in this type, seed have to be covered inside and there will be a protective zone towards the outer side of that particular gametophyte unit. So microscopic female gametophyte inside these part of the flower, that is, you can say this is proof that the angiosperm in flower have a protective covering around their gametophyte structure. Next here you can also see the pollen grains, microscopic male gametophyte inside pollen cones. So called, there will be also a heterozygous condition happen when we talk about a gymnosperm or angiosperm. Heterozygous condition means male and female. Both the gamete have to be present on separate branches, like in this. There, the female gametophyte is present on a different branch, and the male gametophyte present on a different part. So this heterozygous condition, this is very common among the gymnosperm. But if we compare them to the angiosperm, this is not as much common in the angiosperm because some or more of the flower they are having the bisexuality in them. Means both the male and female part will be present inside the same flower. So that's why they can be more susceptible to the sexual reproduction without having much problem. But they have to be like fertilized by the self-pollinating system. But in the case of gymnosperm, they prefer more to the cross-pollination because of having different branches of the male and female gametophyte. Next, if we talk about the introductory part, and let's start with the angiosperm. So, in this introduction part and following part, which we are going to discuss here about angiosperm, we will see what are the major characteristics, what are the features, how they will doing their life cycle, what kind of life cycle is present, like what habitat these plants are present, and you can also going to be see that what kind of structural organization will be present inside the angiospermic plant. So let's begin with this. So angiosperm are the flowering plants. So this is a very well-known character of angiosperm, that they are the flowering bodies, flowering plants. They are the largest and most diverse group of plant in the plantae kingdom. So if we talk about the whole plantae kingdom, like the all over the plant which is present on this earth, so they are the most diverse group. So if we talk about that, like their diversity, diversity is a different aspect of a single thing. So that's why if we're talking about the plants, so the most different kind of the plants which have little variation, large scale of variation, any kind of variations can be present if. So if we talk about their diversity, the angiosperm are the most diverse and most largest group of the plant kingdom. So most of the part of earth, like if we talk about in a percentage manner, so it's like 80 to 90% plant is on Earth is has been occupied by the angiospermic plant. So these plants occupy about 80% of all green plants present on Earth. So if we see their percent count, that is pretty much high because they're almost obtaining the 80% of the plant population present on Earth. So angiosperm, they are found in most environments ranging from mountains to deep sea surfaces to desert. So there is no particular kind of environment which is very suitable for the growth of angiosperm. They can be present, like they're ubiquitous. They can be present anywhere, everywhere. Okay, so their environmental range from mountains, they can be present on mountain, deep sea, under the sea, the aquatic plants, or you can say there are many angiospermic plants which come under the aquatic plant. Not only the bryophytes or thalophytes, or you can say lower plants are present as aquatic plant, but also the well-developed kind of vascular system plant or angiospermic plant also present under the deep sea surfaces. To desert also, not only the xerophytes or gymnosperm are designed for the desert plant, like if we talk about the gymnosperm and some of the pteridophytes, they are very well adapted for the low water capacities. So, but not only those, but most, or you can say some of the angiosperm plants also have the capability or capacity to survive in water deficit conditions. So these plants also can be found in the desert area. These are vascular plant that bear seeds and flower. So the third characteristic here, that they are the vascular plant. We already talked about them in a first manner, like they are having the seed and flower, and this are the fundamental feature, or in the terms you can say this is the characteristic feature of the angiosperm, that they are having seeds and enclosed seeds in a very appropriate way, in an enclosed seed, and also they are having the flower. They exist in different forms. So if we talk about their forms, like what kind of plant, what kind of angiospermic plants can be present. So they can be present in the form of herbs, shrubs, trees, and sometimes the epiphytes and the lithophytes, the mesophytes. So these are the, you can say, the habitat portion of the plant of angiosperm which can be seen. Like herbs, you can see a very small, tiny green plants. Trees, the large plant having a long stem, well-developed canopy or foliage, and shrubs you see around the roots. Like there are in the most of the time the water deficit conditions, there are many shrubs that are present. So their leaves are basically converted into the thorns. So when the conversion of the leaves taking place inside like the thorns, and the stem become very woody type, and the very small growth of the plant, they will be known as shrubs. So they can be present in either forms, herbs, trees, and shrubs. The flower is the reproductive organ of the plant, which consists of both male and female reproductive part. So if we talk about their flower, so their flower can be the bisexual flower, or their flower can be the unisexual flower. So both the kind of flowers can be present inside the angiosperm. So, like if we talk about the bisexual, so both the male and female gamete will be present in a single flower. But if we're talking about a unisexual flower, then only either a male gamete or a female gamete they will be present in a special flower unit. Next character we show here, the flowers after fertilization matures into fruit. So these flowers which we are references out like a female or male flower, they after fertilization process happens, or as you can see the sexual reproduction, they are going to mature into the fruits. So fruits formation is also an essential part of having inside the angiospermic kind of plant. The seeds are formed and are enclosed within the fruit. So that's why we are talking about that their seeds are enclosed. So basically this fruit structure that are responsible for the covering of seed inside the plant body. Based on the seed's leaves, angiosperm are divided into the monocotyledon and dicotyledon. Now, if we wanted to further divide this angiospermic plants, and their major classification based on the cotyledon number on the seed. So if a seed is having one cotyledon, the plant will be known as a monocotyledon. Or if the seed they are having the two cotyledon inside them, the plant will be known as a dicotyledon. So basically, just based on the number of the leaves, how many leaves will be present, we can call them the bicotyledon or sorry, monocotyledon and dicotyledon. The cells and the tissue in angiosperm, they are specialized to perform different function within the plant. So basically, as they are the advanced kind of plant, so they're also their organs or they're part of the plant. They are also utilized to do some special kind of function to maintain their advancement or they maintain their advanced features. These plants have specialized vascular tissues, xylem, phloem, which going to be held to transport the water, mineral, and food to a different part of the plant. So, a specialized tissue system that is known as vascular tissue system, or you can also say that the vascular tissue system is present only in the kind of developed plant. Like if we talk about the lower plants like Halophyta or Bryophyta, they don't have this vascular tissue system inside them because they don't need it. Their body is very simple. They do not have that much kind of length or breadth. So if they do not have that much surface area in them, so that's why their transportation system just work by the diffusion pattern of their tissue. They do not need any kind of special tissue because of the simplicity of the body. But as the plant grows or converting in an advanced feature like the pteridophyte, gymnosperm, angiosperm. So plant also need when they are advancing themselves, so they will be advanced by some having some advanced kind of tissue system. So these are the kind of tissue system which have to be needed inside the plant to do their major transportation pattern from the water to mineral to food from the different part of the plant. Because the plant in angiosperm are highly diverse, their size also varies within the group, with the largest flowering plant being as tall as 100 meters and the smallest being like 2 millimeters. Even you can say we the first very point we studied about the angiosperm that they are diverse. They are having diversity in them. So if we see their diversity in their length, so they are also very diverse in the terms of their lengthy material. How? Like if we talk about the very smallest kind of angiosperm that is like only just in 2 millimeter, that is a very small length, and they can be up to the hundreds meter, and that is a very huge one. So you can see that the how height can be different inside the plant body. Most flowering plants are either herbaceous or woody. Some are annuals, while others are perennial. You have to know these terms for better understanding of plants. Like they are herbaceous. Meaning of herbaceous means They are having a herbs-like structure, means green stem. Basically, when we talk about the herbs, they are like the soft green stem. And woody means they are having wood formation inside them, means plant needed to be thick and strong in the woody. Some are annuals, means they can be live their life like 1 year or more. Especially we use a term called perennial. If we talk about a long life angiospermic plant, we call them the perennial plant. And if the biennial, so means they are like monsoon dependent plant, or you can say some crop inside our agricultural lands. They just be for 6 months or 7 months. So that kind of monsoon based or climate based plant they are called as biennial plant. Annual, which go through their life cycle for 1 year. Perennial, which go through their life cycle for more than 10 years, 15 years. They are having a long life, especially. They develop to vegetative part of the plant during the first half of their growth, while the reproductive part, like flower, are developed later. So, if we go through their life cycle part, and so very initially they have to develop their vegetative parts. So, vegetative part, you can say, when the condition of the plant is deployed and they are just preparing them for their sexual reproductive parts. So, or you can say they are just waiting for the plant to has attain a developmental phase to go under the reproductive phase. So you can say simple language. First part is the vegetative part, and after attaining development process completely, they will be go for the reproductive part. The basic structure of all angiosperm contain a stem, root, and leaf. So these are a very fundamental part, but not present in all kind of plants. So that's why we're calling them that their basic structure is having stem, root, and leaves. All the three characters will be present inside the angiosperm plant. If we talk about their root system, they are having both the kind of root system, taproot system and fibrous root system. So basically, taproot system is present in a plant which have a long life, or you can say very highly kind of developed plant, perennial plant, sometimes a xerophytic plants. So the plant which you can say taproot system is well developed as comparison to fibrous root system in every aspect, even if we talk about their length or their circumferences. So the taproot is much more advanced as comparison to the fibrous root. Both of which grow vertically downwards. Obviously, root always eutrophic. They have to really grow in a vertical manner. In the case of fibrous root, the primary root are as long as the secondary root, or might even exceed the length of the primary root. So if we talk about the fibrous root here, so both the secondary or primary root, they can be of the same length or same size that depend on the need of water and minerals that has to be absorbed from the soil. The stem is main axis of the plant that bear the flower and the leaves. So the main axis of the plant that was all about root, like the fibrous and taproot system. The second main focus come under the having the stem portion. So the stem, they are having this axis of the stem which bear the flower and also the leaves. Both the things will be present here. The leaves are of different type and remain attached to the stem. So the leaves are of different type and will be attached to the stem portion. The leaves might have reticulate or parallel venation. So the leaves they will be having the reticulate venation also, or some they are having a parallel venation. So basically, reticulate kind of venation is the sideward growth of the plant, like this. As a normal kind of venation you have been seen in the plants, that is reticulate in the leaf, and parallel with like side by side venation. That is called the parallel venation. So I think that was all about the angiosperm. Now we will going to take a look on the gymnosperm plant. So as the whole major advanced characteristic we already studied in the angiosperm. Now it's a time to take a look on gymnosperm. Gymnosperm are not as developed as the angiosperm if we do the comparison. So gymnosperm are limited, not as diverse as the angiosperm. They are not having flower in them. Their seeds are naked, present on surfaces, and size also do not like the angiosperm. So majorly you can say comparison will be getting negative for the gymnosperm if we talk about their comparative skills. So they are the vascular plant, have exposed and naked seed and not visible until maturity. So these are the major characteristic feature of the gymnosperm. And they are also vascular plant. They are exposed and naked seed, not covered, and only visible when they get maturity. Before attaining maturity, you are not be able to see the gymnospermic seeds. So they can only be seen after having the maturity. The seeds and gymnosperm, they are mostly observed in the form of cones. So if we talk about their formation, like how they can be observed, so they most of the time they will be observed like in the form of cone formation. The cell and the tissue in angiosperm are specialized to perform different function within the plant cell. So the patients which having a special kind of task to perform the function in the angiospermic plant. So they are also having this kind of specialized tissue in the term of the vascular tissue like xylem and phloem that help transport water, mineral and food from one place to another place. But if we see like xylem and phloem. They are the fundamental tissue for transportation. But they are also have some special kind of cells in them. Like if we talk about xylem, the vessels, and if we talk about the phloem, the compartment cells. So most of the part of the, or you can say most of the plant of gymnosperm, they do not have these special cell of xylem and phloem. Xylem's vessels and phloem companion cells. So both the cells from these tissue, they are lacking them in only having only some very advanced kind of plants like nettles in the gymnosperm. They are having these special tissue because they are the plants which are like in transition in the angiosperm, or you can say they are the very highly developed kind of gymnospermic plant or possessing many characters like the angiosperm. So only those kind of the gymnosperm they are having this special tissue system in them for having vessel and companion cell. Other plants of the gymnosperm they do not have that kind of varied structure. So in most gymnosperm, the male pollen that cones are called microstrobili. So if we talk about their male part, so they will be known as the microstrobili. Have reduced leaf called microsporophylls. So they are having some protective leaf covering around their microstrobili because these microstrobili is a type of very important part of the plant growth. So that's why they needed to be protected. So that's why these microsporophylls, they are the kind of protective leaves which cover the male gametified part of the pollen. The pollen sac, also termed microsporangia, are formed at the base of microsporophyll. So these leaves, microsporophyll leaves, and their base part that is represent as a microsporangia. And the pollen grain, or you can say the male gamete, they are going to be present under these microsporangial gamete. Now, the female gametophyte, they are termed megasporobili and might be present on either the same plant with male cone or on a different plant. So this megasporobili that will can be present on the same plant but on another branch, or they can be present on a different plant. So that's why we call the gymnosperm is having a kind of life cycle, heterozygous life cycle, because both the spore formation, the megaspore and microspore, they present at the varying places. Or you can say their growth and pattern of growth that will be happen separately. They are not going to develop from the same spore. That's why we call them the heterosporous life cycle. Like microstrobili, megastrobili also have reduced leaf called megasporophylls that contain megasporangia. So as some protective leaves which have been covered the megastrobili, microstrobili, same the megasporophylls, they are going to cover the megasporangium for their protection. Within the sporangium, the cell undergoes meiotic division to form haploid cells, which are then dispersed by a different chain of fertilization. So what happened inside the sporangium, which have been protected by these megasporophylls or microsporophylls? Why they are protecting them? Because they are the unit which are going to have meiotic division, meiosis division, and the result of this meiosis division under these microsporangia, they are going to form the if that is microsporangia, they are going to form the male gamete, and if this is a megasporangia, then they are going to form the female gamete. So this kind of gametogenesis or gamete formation process is going to be take place inside these sporangia. Now, after fertilization, the embryo matures and have two or more cotyledons. So, when the fertilization process happens, means fusion of male and female gamete will be known as a fertilization process. So, after fertilization, the embryo matures and had two or more cotyledons. So, they can be have two or more cotyledons. So, plants like cycad, they have two cotyledons, while pine and other conifers might be like 8 to 18 cotyledon. So this character of having multiple cotyledon, this is absent in the case of angiosperm. Angiosperm just have two kind of you can say there are just two type of cotyledon can be present in them. It either be monocotyledon or dicotyledon. So there are no other specific characters going to present in there. So they are just can be the either it can be monocot or dicot, so just have one cotyledon or two. But in the case of gymnosperm, they can be vary, or you can be the more number of the cotyledon can be present inside these gymnospermic plant. Now, as we see the seed, so the seed of the plant they are not covered with fruit and they do not form fruits. So there will be no fruit formation inside the gymnosperm because there are no covering. So if there are no covering, there will be no fruit formation. Instead, the seeds remain exposed as cones. So their seeds they will be exposed as a cones. So in the cones, you can easily when the seed get matures, they will be present on the surface of the cones, and you can easily identify them or see them. Now, the basic structure of gymnosperm this is similar to the angiosperm, consisting of a stem, root, and leaves. So the basic structure, if we talk about the gymnosperm basic characters or structure, this is same as like angiosperm. Both are having stem, root, and leaves. The leaves of gymnosperm are scale-like or needle-like, with while the stem are mostly woody. So actually, these gymnosperm, they most of the gymnosperm they possess the characteristic of the xerophyte plant. So, because of having this xerophytic characteristic in them, they needed to reduce the transpiration rate. And for the reduction in transpiration rate, their leaves they have to be reduced. So, because the major transpiration organ in the plant is leaves, so if the leaves will be in their full flash version, the transpiration rate getting higher. So for the reduction in transpiration rate, they basically modified their leaves into the thorns or scales or the very fine thin structure that can be called as a needles, scale-like leaves, sometimes thorns. So these are the modification of the leaves which can be done for reduction in the transpiration rate. Now, if we talk about their root system, they are mostly taproot system or fibrous that depend on the plant. But if we see majorly of the gymnosperm, they are having this taproot system because of the water deficit condition. Their roots have to be go deeper in the soil and get water from whatever they are getting. So for just attain more water to get more water, they just needed to be increase their area, surface area. So that's why they are possessing this taproot kind of system. Now these are the some comparison points. Okay, so here we are having some basic basis of comparison on the which we are going to see how our angiosperm and gymnosperm plant differ from each other. So if we talk about the very first point, the definition. So if we see the definition point here, angiosperm are the flowering plants that are largest and most diverse group of the plant in the kingdom Plantae. But they are the most diverse and the largest type of plant in this. But the gymnosperm, they are also the vascular plant and have the exposed and naked seed. The first difference, the exposed and naked seeds and not even visible until maturity. So their seeds not going to visible until maturity. That is the basically seed basis comparison. If we talk on the basis of definition of the angiosperm, so they are not as diverse as a angiosperm plant, and mostly their habitat is you can say they are just limited to the xerophytic condition. Mostly, not all, but most of them. Seeds, they are enclosed in a ovary that matures to form fruit. In the case of angiosperm, the seeds have to be enclosed inside the ovary until they will be going to convert into the fruit. See, they will be exposed and might be present in the form of the cones. So they can be present on the surface or the cones, and if they will get maturity, we will be able to see on them on the surface of the cones. Flower, they are the flowering plants and thus have flowers. Angiosperm, they are the characteristic feature of angiosperm to having flowers in them. But the gymnosperm, they are non-flowering plants, so hence they do not have any kind of flower in them. Reproductive system we see, they are mostly bisexual, while some might be unisexual. So the flower which having the bisexual pattern inside them, and but some flower they also have the unisexual. In the case of gymnosperm, mostly they are unisexual. A very rare situation that can be seen as a bisexual plant. That is very rare. Like if they are having the same kind of sporangia formation on the same branch, like from the same sporangia, the male and female gametophyte will be developing. In that case, only we will be calling them the bisexual. Otherwise, they will be the asexual or unisexual. Mostly the gymnosperm are unisexual. Stem, we talk about their wood formation. So stem in the angiosperm is a hardwood formation, while in the gymnosperm there will be the softwood formation. Leaves, the leaves in the plant are broad and flat. So angiospermic plants, they do not have to be face the water deficit condition most of the time. So that's why their leaves they can be the broad or they can be flat, and they you can see they just can tolerate the high rate of transpiration. So that's why they are having this broad leaf characteristic. But if we talk about the gymnosperm, their leaves they are like needle or scale leaves. I just explained why they are having the needle and scale leaves because of to reduce the transpiration rate and less evaporation for the water. Now, if we talk about the xylem, transportation tissue, water transportation tissue. So, xylem from vessels in angiosperm. So, basically, the composition material of xylem inside the angiosperm is vessel, and the composition material of xylem inside the gymnosperm, that is by trachea and xylem parenchyma. Both the vessels and xylem fibers they will be absent in the most of the gymnosperm. But some of the gymnosperm, or you can say very advanced kind of the gymnosperm, they are having such characteristic like vessels. You can say very primitive kind of vessels can be present in a group or order needles inside the gymnosperm. But this is a very just one group which possess that kind of a structure. Otherwise, all other plants of gymnosperm they do not have vessel inside them. Now, sepal and petals, they are present in the case of angiosperm, that is office, because they are the part of flower, and gymnosperm they do not have any kind of flower. That is obvious that sepals and petals have to be absent. Sporophyll contain stout thalamus. So the sporophylls, or you can say the leaves, which are have to be present on the reproductive structures, they are called the sporophylls. So the sporophyll, they are having a very, you can say, a reduced kind of thalamus, But in the case of the gymnosperm, they are having a long elongated axis because whole sporangia formation, or you can say the whole microsporangia or megasporangia, whatever kind of sporangia that is going to form in that place, have to be present on that axis. That's why gymnosperm having that long elongated axis. But they are having this special structure already to be converted into the reproductive organs. So that's why they do not need a long kind of elongated axis. The female reproductive part is developed into the carpel, and the female reproductive part is developed into the wooden structure. So, carpel is a soft structure. So, you can say simple language and just make female reproductive part will be developed in a soft aperture known as carpel, while their female reproductive part have to be developed inside a wooden structure. So, that's why they are tough. The stigma and style present. Gymnosperm do not have a stigma style because they are not having that kind of pollen tube formation and other things, which because these are the part of the flower and they are not present inside them. They just have to be present of megasporangium surfaces. Ovule are present on a stalk, so if we see their ovules, they will be present on the stalk. Ovule of gymnosperm are sessile. Sessile means directly attached to the wall, or you can say they just attach directly to their wall and they are attached by a stalk formation inside angiosperm. Two thin layers of a micropyle surrounded in a ovule. So micropyle covering will be present on the ovule, but they will be too and thin because they are having the ovary wall, or you can say the fruit wall on their covering or protecting layer. But as the ovule and seed will be naked in the case of gymnosperm, that's why they need some more protection. So that's why, because of in the deficit condition of the fruit layers, so they are having the three layers of micropiles around an ovule to give them more protection. Most angiosperm have four pollen sacs and microsporangia. The number of microsporangia ranges from 2 to 100. So this is obvious because the structural organization of flower or microsporangia cone formation gymnosperm that is vary in a structure. Like angiosperming reproductive structure unit is small. Like you see in flower, that is a small unit. But if you have seen the cone of cycles, they are very long in size, sometimes like 1.5 meter, and that's a huge thing. So that's why their macrosporangia ranges from 2 to 100, but the pollen sac formation inside a flower cannot be that huge. Male gamete, if we talk about their male gamete, there is no flagella and thus is deposited into the egg. No flagella because they do not fly. They have flower are the attracting unit, they can attract insect can come, take the pollen from wherever they wanted to go. But in the gymnosperm, there are no flower, there are no odor, there are no nectar, so that's why there are no insect and bird are going to come to them. So that's why they needed to be fly or they needed to be swim on the basis on the further their pollination pattern. So that's why they needed flagella to swim or fly. Embryosac, the embryosac is seven cell structure, eight nucleated. Normal embryosac structure, like having seven cell but eight nucleus. And embryosac is parenchymatous and large. Their embryosac does not have a definite kind of cells or nucleus inside the gymnosperm. Archegonia formation. So archegonia, basically angiosperm, they do not have any kind of archegonia formation inside them. Gymnosperm, they have distinct archegonia can be present inside a sporangia, means numbers of the archegonia can be present. Cotyledon, if we talk about, we already talked about the cotyledon. There is just two situations in the base of cotyledon is present inside the angiosperm. Can be monocotyledon or can be dicotyledon. But in the case of the gymnosperm, they can be several stage cotyledons will be present. It's like 18 cotyledon can be found plant. So that's why they are having a major or many number of cotyledons. Now the endosperm is generally triploid in the case of angiosperm because has been the result of double fertilization. And as I already told you, or in last 5 to 6 lecture, I told you about what is and how the double fertilization process take place. So that endosperm formation in there is the result of the double fertilization. And this endosperm is a haploid phase inside the gymnosperm plant. Now the dispersion, if we see, so the primary mode of dispersion is the animals because they are the attractive plants, so the animals can come to them. But in the primary mode of dispersion is by the wind in the case of gymnosperm because they are not that attractive, so they have to be done by other process. Fertilization is double fertilization has to be present inside the angiospermic plant, and but the single and normal fertilization will be take place inside the gymnosperm. If we talk about the developmental pattern of the seed, the embryo develop inside the ovary, which finally mature into the fruit formation because the fruit and flower have to be present inside the flower, so in the angiospermic, so they needed to be formed inside the fruit. But there is no fruit formation that will be developed or done by the gymnospermic plant. They just have to be mature, the mega sporophyll, and going to be make a new plant from that mega developed or matured mega sporophyll. Life cycle, if we talk about, these plants are mostly seasonal. Some might be perennial or biennial, and most of these plants in the gymnosperm they are evergreen plant. So, like deciduous condition that had not been seen in the gymnosperm, but this kind of situations can be seen in the pattern of angiospermic. They can be season-based plant basically. Now, lastly, we see the uses. Most angiospermic have economic value as they can be used in ornamental, decoration, medicinal, textile, etc. There are a huge variations inside the angiosperm, so that's why they can be diversely used as an ecological purpose or economical purposes. If we talk about the gymnosperm here, provides softwood which can be used to make paper, plywood, and lumber. So basically, the soft kind of wood formation, anything which can be made by the softwood formation, that can be done by the gymnospermic plants. Example, if we see the lastly, mustard rose, spinach, cauliflower, sunflower, these all come under the angiospermic plant. Cycas, agates, sago, sequoia, and pines, they all come under the gymnosperm. So I think this is all about the gymnosperm and angiosperm, and I hope you get a better understanding of how a gymnosperm and angiosperm plant take place inside the plant body. So these questions, I think you now able to answer these. I will be happy if you able to answer these questions. Okay, so that's all for today. If you guys have any problem, you can just comment us.